Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us this evening for Portland Artists for Teressa. Thanks for taking the time to be here. As you know, Teressa Rayford is running for Portland mayor. And the last day to send in your ballots or to mail in your ballots was yesterday. So there's still time to drop them off at the different drop-off sites. You have until Tuesday, 8 p.m. And there's multiple drop-off sites all around the city. You can look them up on Google Maps and just put in official ballot drop-off, and it'll give you, it'll show you places on the map. And also, I think most libraries are drop-off stations. So that's that. And then we have Teressa Rayford here, who has been a tireless voice for so many different communities in Portland for the past 10 years. She has, as most of you know, she started Don't Shoot Portland with, we also have Maria Garcia here, who started that with her. Hello. And that has been an invaluable resource for the community. Teressa has been constantly working towards making sure that our leaders are held accountable and that different problems are exposed at their root causes, and then resources are identified to help people at that root. And Don't Shoot Portland is one of those organizations because it offers so much free legal advice and other free resources for people who are experiencing different types of hardships. And also joining us is Luz Elena Mendoza of Bamba. Hello. She has been here. She grew up in Southern Oregon in the Medford area, and she's been here in Portland for the past 13, 14 years. And she started Bamba pretty much right away at that time. And I think it was Bamba was your cat at that time, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And ever since then, Luz has become kind of like the face of Portland indie rock, or I don't know indie, but the Portland music scene, which is pretty amazing as a Mexican American to be such a front runner here in Portland, Oregon. So you've done, you've really paved the way for so many people here in Portland, and so we are so grateful to have your artistic talents here in Portland. And thank you for joining us tonight.
Oh, thank you.
And we also have Andrew here from Fingers Crossed Interpreting for our deaf and hard of hearing friends. And we'll have another person from that organization joining us as well, named Carly. All right, so how's everybody doing?
Oh, doing great. Thank you so much again, Anna. This is our last night together.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that my friend Maria finally can be with me. She wanted to do a house party during the campaigning season, but so much has happened with COVID-19. So I was just making sure that we made space so that she could support my campaign and community can learn more about the work that is being done in the community by people like her, and to see like the face of people that support me. And again, I'm so happy to have you here, Bamba. I'm like, my daughter's been having me listening to the music and everything. So I was like, my neighbors are going to be like, oh, wow, now we're going to be hearing it for real instead of just like with the commercials in between the YouTube videos and all the other stuff. So thank you so much for coming live. I'm like, we're going to have our own like relationship with this music and bringing some inspiration and courage back to our movement for this community. So I'm just thankful and honored that you're here to share your talent and your time with us. I'm like, this is the time where we're so tired. It's just like, okay, what can we do to keep going? And so music is just that for us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I just recently came back because of all of this. And I mean, though I didn't grow up in Portland, I'm just, I feel like it's important always. I've always felt important. It's like a visceral, natural sense to like be part of the positive changes that we can make Portland a better place. I've been here for a while and I feel like it's important to move that energy. And I'm learning to do it in so many different ways. It's not just in music, but so I'm glad that, I mean, this is the new normal right now, but I'm glad that I can be there. And then for like now and in the future to see how we can shape, you know, like these shifts and these good positive changes. So it's very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just also want to remind our viewers that this is your chance to get to know Teressa and learn about her platform, or even, you know, let her know some of your concerns. So there's a online chat. You have to sign into YouTube to be able to utilize it, but go ahead on that chat and ask questions for her or for Maria or for Luz, for any questions that you have. Okay, so with that being said, we'd love to go ahead and listen to your beautiful music.
Thank you. Let's see. I'm like still getting used to all of this on this side of things, the playing music in this way.
Yo me saltaré de mi ventana y la muerte ahí me espera con otra vida. Perder, ni modo que no es tan horrible, el cielo viejo y con su agua triste. Con su agua triste. Duele saberlo, no creo que puedo ser lo que necesitas, pero pienso en ti. Duele saberlo. Si perderte en esta forma, te pido que me olvides y quédate con tu corazón. Solo me quedo con pensamientos y con un dolor que existe entre tú y yo. Que existe entre los dos. Es difícil estar así, no sabemos qué decir. Lágrimas en el aire, debemos sentir. La tierra abajo de todo, revelar el amor más fuerte, si es con o sin ti. Es difícil estar así, no sabemos qué decir. Lágrimas en el aire, debemos sentir. La tierra abajo de todo y revelar el amor más fuerte, el amor más fuerte, el amor más fuerte, si es con o sin ti, si es o con o sin ti. Yo me saltaré de mi ventana y la muerte ahí me espera con otra vida. Perder, ni modo que no es tan horrible, y el cielo viejo y con su agua triste. con su agua triste.
Sorry, I have allergies. This song is called Boca Llena. The last one was called Entre los Dos, which is about, I never talk in between songs, but I feel like I kind of, I don't know. Anyway, it's about love and unconditional love and learning that about yourself, self-care. Boca Llena is about really like just navigating through a society where you see things that people are just not admitting to them. You're like, how come I see these things and no one's like, the elephants in the rooms, and I'm like the only one feeling this, like what? And then now we're living, I'm now in my age, I feel like there's validation for me being a woman of color and just a woman. And like this song is like kind of about all of that, gathering all that information for personal growth. So I know Boca Llena means mouthful.
Yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve y lo que no se habla, lo que puede ser canción de vida, palabra tierna y boca llena de pura maldición, 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 boca llena. Sola si me despido, ¿quién le importa si me voy? ¿Quién le importa si me voy? Si me retiro, se oye la voz del pasado, con calma yo esperaré, acompañada con lo que te digo. Lo conozco bien. Lo conozco bien. Mis ojos son los ojos de ella. Padre, por favor, ¿por qué tan lejos está tu amor? Si los recuerdos, quién sabe, si los recuerdos, quién sabe. Oh, lo conozco bien. Lo conozco bien. Yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve. Yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve. Yo sí lo veo. Yo sí lo veo. Yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve. Yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve. Yo sí lo veo. Yo sí lo veo, yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve y lo que no se habla, lo que puede ser canción de vida, palabra tierna y boca llena de pura maldición. Yo sí lo veo, lo que no se ve y lo que no se habla, lo que puede ser canción de vida, palabra tierna y boca llena de pura maldición, mi 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 boca llena.
That song is so hard playing or not playing it with the band, but I try to do two things at once. Anyway, I don't even know. Is it frozen? Oh no. Anna, you're frozen. I'm just gonna keep going. The song is called Ojos de Sol. Thanks for listening. It's definitely a very interesting thing to get used to playing in this way, but it's not really a, yeah.
Ojos de sol, piel de madera, con un corazón temblando por ella. Palabras sinceras y su alma viaja así, cantando como un pajarillo. Curro, que cantando en su destino me despierta cada mañana con su canción de amor. Y no hay nadie como tú. Es más, eres culpable por una tentación y en tus ojos me desvelo y tus labios me buscan en la oscuridad como las llamas de la noche. Le pido a Dios que me dé felicidad, mucha paz para mi madre, mi padre, hermanos, yo sí he estado muy bien y mal. Ten piedad, ten piedad, ten piedad. Ten piedad. Eres como el viento que me lleva volando por allí, volando por donde quiera. Como fantasma, fantasma, como fantasma, como fantasma, fantasma que a veces se aparece. Y no hay nadie como tú. Es más, eres culpable, perdóname, tentación. En tus ojos me desvelo y tus labios me buscan en la oscuridad. Como oraciones de la noche, le pido a Dios que me dé felicidad, mucha paz para mi madre, mi padre, hermanos, yo sí he estado muy bien y mal. Ten piedad, ten piedad, ten piedad, ten piedad.
Thank you. I can't see people. Oh, one more. Okay. You're frozen, so it's really interesting to do it this way. Everyone's all watching me and I can't see you. I'm gonna sing a song that I never really sing. It's not recorded anywhere. I wrote it a couple years ago. It's called For Mary, and it's just about tending to those friendships. Sometimes they're compatible, sometimes they're not. Basically relationship, whatever that looks like. If it's a friendship, it doesn't matter. And you want to like reach out and do the best that you can to let them know that you're there. But sometimes people have to go through their own thing and don't see that you're there, but it's just sending good energy from afar. And yeah, so I guess it's pretty literal, so I'll do it. Thank you. It's called For Mary, but her name was not Mary, it was someone else. I like to disguise my songs as little mysteries.
I should know better. Well, at least I have tried. Everyone must be, can let go of their minds. Don't walk away, for you have always had my hand to hold. No need to be cruel, there is plenty of that now. Let's wait till the morning. I didn't mean for any of this. There's an intimacy fooling around with the weather. And I have found a friend in you. Sometimes you cannot make it any better. With the company of you, we watch the world as it spins. Daring to question it, all the truth we call living. So what if I do? So what if we all do? I know this feels like hell. Let your fingers sink in underneath the soil. Let the earth try some print out your concern and walk away before you get colder. My tongue is dry, my heart speaks louder than I think, but please don't hate me for it. What's time anyway? There's an intimacy fooling around with the weather. And I found a friend in you. Sometimes you cannot make it any better. With the company of a few words, we watch the world as it spins. Daring to question it all, the truth we call living. So what if we do? So what if we all do? So what? So what? So what? So what?
Man, I'm like leaky faucet. So many allergies mixed with coffee and feelings. because
It's like me. I'm always like, okay, is it my sadness or is it just my happiness or is it the allergy season?
it's everything. True, like this is all no front. It's everything. I was telling Anna before you guys hopped on. I was like, dude, I drink so much coffee, and like, what should I do? And it's not going down because I usually don't drink this much coffee. It's called quarantine.
Oh my goodness, yes.
It was beautiful. You have a beautiful voice. Just
Yeah.
like-
Thank
So
you.
much.
Thanks for having me.
Somebody in the comments, Mark Woodleaf said, you're turning cyberspace into sacred space. And I just have to really agree with that. Thank you.
We should make t-shirts
Yeah.
like for everyone, because that's what we're doing collectively, you know?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it was beautiful. I'm like, I feel like I could just play this, like when this is over, I could just play these songs over and over again and just be happy and just sleep and feel good because they just put you in a relaxed state. I'm just like, wow. I was texting Maria and crying over the text, like, yes, I love you so much. It's like, I love you too. And
You know what's very interesting about, or a funny fact about Teresa, that she's a very strong woman, right? And she's very stubborn. She knows that, right? And you see her on the streets, you know, moving around, and she's protesting, and she has a very unique ways of moving around, but she's very sentimental. You might not think, you know, that this tough woman has such a, you know, a sentimental side. You know, she's very easy to cry. She's very emotional.
Cursi?
Maria was like, you need to be more aggressive. You got to show them your hard side. And I'm like, I'm not mad about anything. Everybody's giving me so much love. I can't be upset about anything. Like, my whole community is running a campaign for me, you know, like so that we can do better. And that's all I've ever wanted, was to see us do something together that brings honor and value to our lives. And so what can I be mad about at this point? You know, just thankful and happy.
Yeah, and on that note, I want to encourage everyone that's watching to make sure that you get your ballots in by dropping them off by Tuesday at 8 p.m. But also I want to encourage you to go and make sure that your neighbors, your friends, your family, everyone is voting, and of course voting for Teressa. And
Yes.
yeah, because we need everyone to know that she's running. Everyone who feels like they've not been represented in city council before, and you know, anyone in the Black, Brown, Latinx, immigrant, LGBTQ plus, all of these communities that usually we feel like we're not being represented in the city government. We need to know that Teressa is actually, she has proven herself to be there day in and day out for providing a voice for all of us. We need to make sure she gets into office. Yeah, so please go and collect those ballots from your friends and neighbors and make sure that they vote. There's also many other progressive candidates. I think this is our time.
Yes. Thank you. Running the stage. I need money. So, yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that there are still people phone banking for our campaign, and we're getting a really good response. We recently decided, instead of using paper materials, because we had been on so many climate change platforms, that we wanted to do digital platforms. And so we started making videos early, but when COVID-19 hit, it became a more inclusive way for us to connect with people. So recently we spent some money with Facebook to kind of like promote our site. And the people that manage those promotions are like, oh my God, I can't believe the overwhelming response, because they work on other campaigns, of course, that are local, but they're saying that the response that they're getting to the traffic coming to us, the responsive comments, like there's zero mean comments, everybody's happy, everybody's sharing. And they were like, this is just ridiculous amount of support that you're getting. that it almost feels bad that you're spending money. But I was like, well, let's do whatever we can because our team needs a little break. You know, we needed a little respite so that we could take some breaks. But I wanted people to realize this literally is a people-powered campaign. And no matter what they tell you about campaign reform or anything, if you have a commitment to your community, the community will come together and they will participate in civics. They will elect the leaders that they feel that they want and deserve that will do the work for them. And we can see that happening right now. One of the challenges that a lot of candidates had was basically raising money so that they could connect to the community. We literally connected to the community and the community, you know, supported that endeavor. So again, I'm thankful and to be here today, waiting for Tuesday and knowing that we're doing really well. I'm thankful because that's happening because of the involvement of our community. And that's a blessing. That is like a treasure.
But I also think that has a lot to do with who you are as a person, as an individual, as a woman, especially nowadays, you know, being a woman of color. And it is time for a woman of color to take leadership because I see it as with my Mexican perspective, right? That Black community and Latino community, we have a lot of issues in common, right? But the fact that the Black community has suffered so much racism, and you're from here, from this country, you know, so us immigrants, we face that too in a different way, in a different tone, right? But for me, it's very hard to believe that you as a Black woman or the Black community living here is suffering those issues. You know, they're more obvious than we see it in our community. So if we get you to where you can be of benefit for not just the Black community, but all communities, automatically and indirectly, our community gets the benefit, right? Because it's just so much damage done within, you know, to the Black community that how do you repair that? And by exactly, there's no way to repair that, you know.
There's no way to repair it. The only thing that we can do is to hammer in creating a less bias in the system and in the leadership that we perform going forward. The time right now, since we have so many people in our country that are resisting the white supremacist system that we participate in, they're resisting the participation. They're demanding accountability. They're demanding outcomes. Those demands do not have to go without being heard. Those demands don't have to go for another generation to show up to continue making those demands. Those demands can be heard, they can be met, and they can be dealt with because we already have that engagement. The biggest level of engagement that people were fighting for 60 years ago when they were trying to get people registered to vote through the civil rights movement was the fact that they wanted us to have the power to elect our own leaders. And now we have that power, and it's so hard for our communities that have been systemically marginalized to come together because we still feel disenfranchisement from 100 years ago. We still feel disenfranchisement from 60 years ago. And we look into our communities and we believe the lie. We believe that the disenfranchisement has come because we did not want to engage. But when we look at history, we see what happened. People have been oppressed, people have been suppressed, people have been assassinated. You know, just to tell people, just by registering people to vote in this country in our lifetimes. And so when people don't show up to elect the leaders that they need, it's because of that trauma. And then when we have the violence of white supremacy, which, you know, usually in our city right now, you have a leader that's saying, I've been supported by your elders and the people in your community. Well, that is support out of fear. That is not support out of hope. There's a generation that has been terrorized and is still terrorized today by the status quo because of the lack of opportunity to participate. And they still utilize that as a tool and a barrier to keep us out of politics. But I think that with this movement that we've developed through community agency, we've created a bridge to those same political directives. We've created a way for us to get in there and to sustain our dignity. And I'm hoping that once this campaign is over, people can see what we've developed as a community, because I believe that we've harnessed our community and our political strength to let them know, no matter who's elected, you're going to have a community that is effectively engaged. And at the end of the day, that's what I wanted for our community, because I believe that's how we're going to continue to overcome. We're not going to stand still. We have a generation right now, these youth like Luz, like, you're out here and you're developing music and art and community, and people are listening to you. And I don't think sometimes people realize how powerful they are for having those type of platforms that bring people together. But it's the messaging that you share when you have those people. What do we want to be courageous to give to other people so that they can be inspired to do more?
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part, because we don't know when we're overstepping boundaries, because those boundaries have been created, but they couldn't be created to benefit us if they're keeping us away from our community or keeping us away from standing up for things that are important. So we have to unlearn a lot, but I think that this is an effort in that, what we're doing now.
Yeah, thanks for it's like pointing that out too. I mean, me amongst a lot of others, like, I mean, for me, like, I've been trying to like find safe spaces to even believe that I use my voice. I still have a hard time like even talking about my queerness, or talking about, oh, I'm Mexican American, or I do this, or like trying to align. I mean, it's just like, there's trauma to even get to the point to even own that and be what I am, so like that's just like a percentage of like, of like what people go through, like women, I mean, as a woman of color, as a queer woman of color, just and on a larger scale, just how to see those traumas, basing off of certain, groups of people, like what people go through to even get to a place where we get to believe that we can choose our own leaders. It's hard to like.
That's why I said we have to unlearn so much. We have to unlearn those barriers, because those were put in place to oppress us. And your generation is liberating. You're liberating the whole entire earth by fighting for it. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that our generation has to make sure that that struggle is not in vain with the time that we have, because of what we understand. I'm like, you're coming into this inheritance that is offensive. You know what I'm saying? Like, your inheritance is supposed to be lovely and beautiful, and in a way that you can appropriate a new design with it. But the elements of what you're receiving from us and this generation that is built on policies that oppress, it is fearful, it is violent. And so you have to fight. Like, you don't even get a choice. Being a woman of color, being a woman, like, those choices are leveling against you because of who you are, But we have to take away those constructs. I've watched in 10 years, I've watched in 20 years, I've seen in our lifetime, the continuance. People in my generation, when we were like 17, 18, we were like, no one's fighting for us. But now, as someone that's almost 50 years old, no one ever stopped fighting for us. We just didn't even know that they were fighting for us, because in society, we're told that they're bad people, or they're rude people, or they're doing activist work, which may sound unsightly, it might be mean. But then when we look at what they're saying, you see signs that say silence is complicity. You say signs like, let me marry who I want to marry. I don't believe in war. And you're like, whoa, we're fighting these people? Like, for what? I wanted to ask you though, Les, like, what's important to you? Because I know that you said you just moved back to Portland like 13 years ago, but you're just now getting connected back into being in safe spaces or venturing into community. What do you think has changed, like, in the last 5-10 years, and what do you think is important right now to you?
In Portland, or just in general?
It could be in general, but mostly just what things are important to you here in Portland. But I love the worldview, because we're in such a bigger space in Portland, and so many people don't even realize that.
Yeah, I mean, I was in Portland for those years. I mean, I'm here. And then really, like, I've been touring, and I took the initiative, like, oh my God, it's been like a year and some of, or a year and a half, I guess, of me just wanting to go to Mexico. And like, I wasn't born in Mexico. I want to make that clear. My parents were born in Mexico. And having that, and I hope I answer this. I mean, I'm going to try to do my best to kind of let you in on what it is that I know from my personal experience of how I even got to be right here to like even talk to you. I, was raised by immigrant parents. Both of them came from Michoacan, from small towns and like pueblitos, and they did migrant work. My mom's side of the family worked and lived out of the migrant camps. They lived out of them and worked out of them, like outside of like Fresno or like that whole Central Valley, San Joaquin Valley area. And slowly, like they started to, make their own living and stay together as Mexican communities do. Like they just hang out, they just are together because they help one another, because no one else is helping them. They're like, how are we going to get that car? How are we going to get those parts? How are we going to get that signed? How are we going to pay those bills? Could you translate this for me? Like, can you da-da-da? And then they have kids, and it's us. And like, my dad can't speak English. And so we're paying. So we, as kids, we've learned, we were the ones paying the bills for my dad. We were the ones making those phone calls. We were the ones that we would talk to the people, so we, as like, having the privilege of having a birth certificate saying that I was born in the United States, like has given like this privilege, even though we didn't, as kids, like our fragility, like it's like we didn't understand what was going on, but we had the privilege. Our parents worked so hard to come over here, and still, like right now, especially right now, I freak out about their well-being and like how they're being taken care of. And so my perspective being shaped from these experiences and continue to be shaped, I was so, we're isolated in these experiences where I'm like, oh, this is how I experience life. This is what struggle looks like for people. No, this is what struggle looks like for my parents and like my family. And like, I've slowly, honestly, like, when I moved to Portland, like I started to, now with with cognitive dissonance, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like just seeing how I was absorbing life and how I was seeing other people, how people would take certain things, or, like with privilege, just like the nuances of where, what privilege was and what wasn't, you know what I mean? And like, and then me just I've been supported by a Portland artistic community for so long, and just seeing now how things are changed, like all the things that oh my God, there was a lack of validation for me as a person then, and now I'm like, okay, well, that's got it. Now we're here, cool. I'm glad it's happening. Let's move forward. I have to unpack all this stuff. And like, for really, like, I think I've seen a lot of change in Portland with people coming together, and like really starting to address these issues. And me, I've been playing music. I have the privilege to go, but just now, like me leave and like tour and believe that I can do that. That's a whole other conversation. Believe that I'm able, wow, I can go do this, like the way that these people did it, which is like this privileged way of having things paved, if you will. I'm going to try my best to articulate, but paved in a way where opportunities were handed off, though I have opportunities that my parents didn't have, but there's other people that have opportunities I don't have, even though I'm a US citizen. Does that make sense? Like compared to like, and so I really feel by me going to Mexico and experiencing the having really, really, really beautiful, profound experiences with people there, and having conversations about their politics and classism, and then just so many things like racism, classism, like just so many different things, and then comparing them to United States, and just having that, like, it's like different but same, but because so I feel like there's some strong shifts, and those who have really had some very difficult hardships have seen things, you know, and I've experienced things and like way ahead before of other people. And so I think I've just been hoping that people will just continue to shape that growth, that change, you know. So I don't know, I've just seen a lot. I hope I am answering everything. I'm just kind of giving you like my whole overall you know.
Maria can say it, because Maria, like we look at the things that are happening in our current circumstances and the social behaviors of people, we can watch them change because we're frontline organizers. And so a lot of the work that like me and Maria do, we're looking back at our past and we're moving forward because we're seeing where the placement of oppression happened politically. And so when you're saying that these paradigms are shifting and now things are happening where there's more privilege and now there's more deconstructing and now there's more affirmation, like that is part of the ongoing struggle, because a lot of people are saying, oh, this generation is not doing anything, or this. No, that is part of the ongoing struggle. That's why in a generation, a child that has been translating and paying the bills and dealing with the economic administration of a family can see the changes in the world within 20 years and know that, oh, wow, this is part of a system that is being dismantled. You know that that's happening. You're not trying to figure out how to support the current system. You're actually watching it manage to deteriorate, and you're on the front line of that. And I think that's what you were telling me, that's part of your affirmation in life, is you're seeing the adjustment and the paradigm shifts. And I think that's why we're all here today. Like, look at all four of us on this call. Like we lost Andrew. I don't know what happened, but look at all of us from our various backgrounds and who we are as people and what we stand for and how our values are intersecting, because we're trying to make change for our future. That's like, this is different, and in a very positive way. And it's not in a way that's violent or harmful to any of our communities. It's supportive of the fact that we need to unify. So
and I really think that things are changing, especially for our Latino community. Things are changing. Our numbers are growing. Big businesses, corporations, banks, they're looking at the Latino community now, because just like Luz Helena was saying, I was the little girl that had to translate, had to pay bills, and that's the story of the immigrant population here. That's our story, right? My kids were doing that for me, and they were laughing at my accent and, ma'am, you don't say that like that, right? And things like that. We all go through that, but it's what it is, But I've seen these businesses, these big corporations now adding Latino stuff into their list of products, into, shifting into, being more accessible for the Latino, the Hispanic community. And that means that there's been a change, Our community is growing. Our community, now not everybody's undocumented, right? Our community, our parents, as parents, we are having kids. We are growing our roots here, and just like you, right? Now you have access to probably buy a house, or, those things that papers give you, you're right? That kind of privilege, right? That you have, that your parents didn't have. That changes your story. That changes the story of your family, right? So when we look around and we think that nobody's doing anything for us, I think, like Teresa said, we're wrong when we think that way, because there's always somebody doing something for somebody, right? And that's why I'm here with Teresa, because I've seen Teresa doing something for somebody else. She did it for me. She did it for other friends, So we're expecting to see the big news. We're expecting to see, commercials about these heroes. But we have those heroes in our community. Our mothers, your mother, your father, me as a woman, as a business owner, having my kids, and all of us, we are our own heroes. And we have to learn to appreciate that, because the fact that we are bilingual, we are bicultural, you know, we are fighting the system, we're finding ways to do things, we are very creative, you know. That takes courage, you know, that takes really a lot of, maybe not discipline, but courage and need to satisfy your basic needs, right? So that's one of the reasons why I became like a cultural promoter, right? Because I see value in my community. I see value in what we do. We are not just another number. We are human beings that are growing roots here, who are having families, who are having businesses, right? And we have the right to elect, you know, the leaders that we want. We want us to represent us, right? And I think that the change is constant. You know, it's everyday change. You know, when we recognize who we are and what we're doing here, is when we open the door for our kids to walk with pride, you know, being very proud of who they are and their culture, right? And that's why I love my friend Teresa, because she has respected my culture. She has been part of it. She wants to learn about it, right? When we organize the Day of Dead celebration, you know, she's part of it. She has an altar in there, you know, she sees value in such a beautiful celebration. And to me, it is important to have a leader that is going to understand my culture, is going to understand that I do have an accent, is going to understand that I move differently. You know what I'm saying? That my space is different. The way I do things is different. Even though we are not, we don't agree all the time, but she's very respectful. And that's a quality that a leader should have, you know. She never creates problems. She resolves problems. And if she doesn't know how to do that, she say, let's think about it. Or don't worry about it. We will figure it out. And then, you know, she tells you an answer. You know, she say, let's do this, let's do that. She never says, I'm going to do this for you. No. She grabs your hand and she teaches you how to do it. To me, that's valuable. And many times I said, Teresa, why did you put me through this? You know, why? You know, if you care about me, why did you do that? You know, why did you leave me alone here? And she's like, because you have to learn that, right?
Yeah.
So, and I really appreciate that. So when we think that things are not changing, I disagree. Things are changing, right? And I know election day is coming soon, and I've told this Teresa many times, but I want to say it, you know, live here, that no matter what happened, no matter what the outcome is, I love you, and no matter, you know, what you do, I'm gonna be there, you know, all the way with you, because I know what loyalty is, and because I see value, you know, who you are. I don't care the outcome of this election. I want you to be healthy. I want you to be fine. And I want you to know that you have a big network that loves you.
Yes.
You know? And that's important to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I also just want to add that, you know, one thing that we're talking about with seeing all of these changes, one of the things that is so important, going back to Luz, what you said about believing that this is something that you could do, and is because it's so important for us, as we all know, to see people who look like us in different positions of power, whether it's a touring artist or an elected official or a board member on different boards, or a business owner, or anything. You know, it's so important for us to see women of color, immigrants, all of these people in these positions. And because that's what makes us feel like we can do it. And so for Luz, for you to be doing what you're doing, it's already going to be encouraging other young Mexican girls, immigrant girls, to pick up a guitar and see themselves as a touring artist. And Teressa, whether you win or not on Tuesday, you have already motivated an entire generation of people into action. To see you and everything that you've been doing for these past 10 years to make it seem possible for so many who felt like they were just looked over.
Mm.
Thank you. Maria got me crying. I was like, I'm not going to be crying. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for just keeping me inspired and helping us keep this going, because it's been such a long, hard run. We don't have the privilege of a lot of the people that are running. So the fact that we've been able to stay up and neck with them in this race, like, it's amazing. I just can't believe it. Like I told you, every time I'm talking to all the news people, I had like Oregonian Coin, people that run all these systems of social media, talking to me and inquiring, like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing? Because they can't believe the amount of people that are connecting to our campaign. So I think we're going to get some really, whatever we hear on Tuesday is going to be very, very good news, because they're saying that it's hard to amass this type of power and response that we have as a community, and especially with the amount of money that we haven't raised. Like, we were not seeking money, but we were seeking community, and doing that is actually a big return on investment. And I'm thankful and honored that we were able to do this. Like, we made that possible together. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Anna, for hosting these. Thank you, Les, for being here tonight, for bringing your music and sharing everything about your life and growing up. I appreciate it. Thank you, Maria, for loving me, being my friend, teaching me so much about just the world and how we all come together. Like, Maria knows everything, generations of knowledge, going back thousands of years, like, literally. She is a historian. If you think I'm a preservationist, Maria knows her great grandparents.
Oh, that's so good.
She does. Thank you, Andrew, for being at all of these with us. This is the last one, and you've made it so possible for people to experience this across the spectrum, and even the experience of the artists that I've seen come together and being able to share the experience for the first time, seeing their music be shared with the world that can't hear it, but can actually listen to it and share it with their friends as well. So thank you all for creating this platform for us. And let's win. We're going to have 2 sites open this weekend where people can pick up information. And what we've been doing over the last 3 months is dropping off materials to different people in different communities. And they've been distributing it, doing safe distancing. And people have been signing up for phone banking to keep safe distancing, but also to remind people to drop off their ballots. So please check out our website, teressarayford.com. And I know you have the information in the description. So thank you, Anna.
You're so welcome. Yeah, and just reminding everyone else, everyone who's watching, to get your ballots in and get your neighbors and friends and families' ballots in too. Let's get Teressa into office.
Thank you.
So one last song from you, Luz?
Oh yeah. I'm like I, no free of charge, but I have a laser show going on just, for the party.
Beautiful.
Oh my God. All right. Thank you for having me. Thanks for letting me be part of this and inviting me to be your ally.
Thank you for being my ally. Thank you for showing up.
Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh. So I'm just gonna play super simple.
Por favor, ya no quiero de pelear contigo, porque ya no te regresas a tu casa. Esta emoción te juro que ya me mata, de pensar mucho en mi error. es como una prueba. Esta será la última vez que me pasa. Bien tranquilo tú vives, siguiendo como quieres, ojos bellos, pero no me comprende. Allí calladito, solo con tus pensamientos y como a ti te parece. Quieres saber de mí, quieres saber de mí, pero tú ya no puedes. Es mejor que te cuides, es mejor que me olvides. ¿Por qué? Porque así lo quiero yo. Te deseo lo mejor, pero necesito de guardarme todo lo mejor para mí. Me confundo yo el amor y cómo debo andar. Te ha dicho que ya no soy así. Mi alma pura lleva duda, ya lleva mucha duda de ti. Y si tienes la razón, pero ya no me importa, pero ya no son horas para discutir. La energía que se baja de mi cuello me dirige con verdad. ¿Y para qué fingir? Quiero saber de mí, como quisiera saber de mí, pero tú ya no puedes. Es mejor que te cuides, es mejor que me olvides. ¿Por qué? Porque así lo quiero yo.
Thank you. Everyone's frozen.
Thank you.
It's the weirdest thing. Like